I'm Al Christopher. I'm the Director of the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Programs at the Virginia Department of Energy. I am excited and privileged to greet you and tell you about this webinar. This is the fourth Virginia Energy Plan that I've had the honor of playing a role in at the Department of Energy. The fifth plan, if I count 2007, when I was a stakeholder as director of a nonprofit focused on advanced transportation. I have confidence that this plan will be the best of the batch. Our purpose today is to provide content, invite all of you context, and invite all of you and your friends and associates to give us input, comments, and recommendations. Today is not about the content of the plan. That work is underway and dependent on the input we have received and will continue to receive from Virginians. Use the Q&A feature, which is on the bottom right on your screen, to ask questions about the stakeholder process and other logistics associated with how to engage as a stakeholder and offer your comments. As previously announced, the meeting is being recorded. The recording and the presentation will be posted on the Virginia Energy website. On the agenda is straightforward. The Deputy Secretary of Commerce and Trade, Chelsea Jenkins, will go over the objectives and guiding principles of the Virginia Energy Plan. Mike Skiffington, Virginia Energy's Director of Policy and Planning, will talk about energy policy and the role of the plan. Carrie Hearn, Associate Director of Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency at Virginia Energy, will take us through the stakeholder engagement process and channels. And we'll save some time for questions and answers after the presentations. Now it is my privilege to introduce Deputy Secretary Chelsea Jenkins. Before her appointment to Governor Youngkin's cabinet, Chelsea spent 20 years in the mobility and advanced transportation technologies industries. From about 2011 until her appointment, she led various enterprises for a division of the global engineering company Roush Enterprises. Chelsea and I actually worked together for part of her 7 years, mostly leading Virginia Clean Cities prior to her most latest stint in the private sector. Virginia Clean Cities is an advanced transportation nonprofit that is part of a national network supported by the U.S. Department of Energy. It is good to be working with Chelsea again, now for the Commonwealth of Virginia on energy policy and the Virginia Energy Plan. The floor is yours, Chelsea.
Thank you, Al. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Thumbs up. Clearly, I've never led anything in the IT sector because my sound check was fine this morning, but I couldn't hear you, Al, at the beginning or unmute myself. So glad it's working now. And I'll just, because of that lead in, I'll go off script quickly and just say that if someone would have told me a year ago I'd be serving under Governor Glenn Youngkin and working with this amazing Virginia Energy team, many of which I've known for 2 decades. Obviously, I started when I was 12 on the Virginia Energy Plan. I honestly wouldn't have believed them. And I think I knew in my heart that I'd always come back around to public service and, more importantly, come back to focusing more on improving the lives of those in my home state here versus all around the country. I never dreamed that this would be the dream, and it really is. I'm just so humbled, and I'm filled with so much gratitude to be serving under our governor and working with this amazing team, and also with all of you. I'm learning so much every day and I'm really grateful. And when I joined the administration just 5 months ago, I was told to be helping with the energy plan, and I think all of you on the phone know how many opinions there are about energy. It took me only a couple of hours into my first week to literally fill up an entire whiteboard with ideas, desires, passions, theories, conspiracy theories about how we should be thinking about developing this year's energy plan. And I just wanted to start off by sharing that we are still thinking about the development of this plan, and we'll continue to think about the development of Virginia's energy plan throughout our entire administration. There's no finish line. When we publish this year's plan on October 1st, it doesn't mean that we're done and we're going to move on to something else. This is going to be a very open, dynamic, living, iterative process. You all know energy markets are complex, dynamic. There's lots of cooks in the kitchen. There's many factors impacting how and how affordably energy is delivered to us, and those change daily, annually, and there are a lot of national and international factors that impact how we think about it. So over the past few months, the governor and team have been focusing on better understanding what's happening in Virginia today, how it's impacting Virginians and businesses that are already here, as well as those looking to relocate in the future. And we're also trying to better understand growth and how that growth may be impacted and impact the generation and ultimate distribution to homes and businesses across the entire Commonwealth. Recently, the governor has articulated his vision for the plan through a set of objectives and guiding principles that you should see on this screen. And also you saw them hopefully in a press release that came out recently. But I think the big takeaway for everyone should be that this energy plan and the recommendations are about people. Energy represents jobs, healthcare, education, transportation, recreation, how much food is on our tables, how cool or warm we are, and if our lights actually come on when we flip the switch. And so many of us know the governor started his campaign around the kitchen table, talking about kitchen table issues. And so those issues he learned about all over the Commonwealth are still driving how we think and ultimately the decisions that we make. And we are truly focused every day on how do we make Virginia the best place to live, work, and raise a family. And that's cascaded down. Those core principles are translated into everything that we do and how we approach issues like energy. And so the main objectives of this year's plan are to lower the cost of living and doing business in Virginia, to create jobs and grow Virginia's economy, and to improve Virginians' quality of life, and that's all Virginians. And so we hope to achieve these objectives through a set of guiding principles, which are on the right. And that's the guiding principles are essentially the filter that helps us assess if where we are today will help us get to where we want to be tomorrow and many years into the future as we do think about growth and remaining competitive. And where we want to go is ensuring all Virginians have access to reliable, affordable energy that's delivered using breakthrough technologies while also protecting our environment. And we want to provide consumers with more choice and transparency. And so to close out, the aim for our plan this year is to guide the development of Virginia's energy future and secure Virginia as the best-in-class state for competitive, cutting-edge energy policy. And in order to do that well, we truly, truly want to hear from all of you, especially if you have good data to share. You probably heard we like data here in the Patrick Henry building, and we want to continue to hear from you beyond October 1st. The plan that's published in October, again, will be a living, iterative document. So please continue to keep that in mind. And remember that we really appreciate hearing from all of you all across the spectrum. We want to continue hearing from you beyond October 1st. And with that, I will turn it over to the man, the legend, Mike Skiffington. His primary duties are to serve as the agency liaison to the General Assembly, the regulatory coordinator for Virginia Energy, and to direct their strategic planning efforts. And I'll say when he's not up to very serious, important matters for the Commonwealth, he's pretty mean on the guitar. And he has a lovely wife that has a lovely voice. And we're grateful to have them both serving our Commonwealth. So thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Chelsea. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to take a couple slides here just to lay out a high-level policy view of the code requirements in the Code of Virginia for the Virginia Energy Plan. And that section in the code is 45.2-1710, which directs Virginia Energy to consult with the entities you see there, including the State Corporation Commission, the Department of Environmental Quality, the Clean Energy Advisory Board, the renewable energy and transportation electrification sectors, and a large laundry list of stakeholders that my colleague Carrie Hearn will talk a little bit more about in just a second. That code section also directs us to prepare the comprehensive energy plan, identifying actions over a 10-year time period to implement the Commonwealth Clean Energy Policy, which sets an aspirational goal of net zero across all sectors of the economy by 2045. That code section also lists a laundry list of things that the energy plan must include to include projections and analyses of various aspects of electricity generation, transmission, distribution, and consumption, an inventory of greenhouse gas emissions, which will be supplied by the Department of Environmental Quality, data relating to the number and types of electric vehicles and associated electric vehicle infrastructure, and also recommendations to implement those elements of the Commonwealth Clean Energy Policy. As mentioned, the code requires us to consult with numerous stakeholders. We've had numerous meetings, not only within state government, but outside of it as well. As Chelsea mentioned, this will be hitting the street by October 1st. And the code also directs us to issue an interim update of the plan on the third year of each governor's administration on October 1st, 2 years from now in 2024. And as Chelsea indicated, we have every intention of making this a living document, an iterative document, one that rolls with the times. And we look forward to your assistance and your input in making that happen. So now I will go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Carrie Hearn, the Associate Director of Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Programs here at Virginia Energy, who will tell you a little bit more about the stakeholder engagement process.
Thank you, Mike, and appreciate everyone being on today and those that are able to watch the recording after the fact. As Mike mentioned, my name is Carrie Hearn, and I'm here in the Richmond office. And our stakeholder engagement process has been underway, and we welcome you into it here today as well. So this spring, the state agency, working with the Secretary of Commerce and Trade and some other agencies, namely Virginia Department of Transportation and Department of Environmental Quality, engaged in several kickoff meetings and sort of started thinking about how would this process work, what are the goals of the administration, what are the goals of doing an energy plan every 4 years, and thinking about that data-driven approach. And over the summer, we began key organization outreach and engagement with a variety of subject matter experts across other state agencies, as well as in key organizations that may be either named in the code or that we know play a key role in Virginia's energy sector, both on the private side, the public side, nonprofits, membership trade organizations, directly with businesses, utilities, et cetera. And that process is ongoing. And now we're also opening this up, and we opened it up a couple of weeks ago on Virginia Town Hall and through our emails that we'll get into a little bit in a next slide or so. But But these ongoing engagements, as both Chelsea and Mike mentioned, will happen beyond the sort of immediate deadlines we have for producing this initial plan. So we welcome stakeholder engagement. We welcome your all's, questions, recommendations, contacting us in the ways that we've outlined. And so here on this timeline, again, just, this is due to the General Assembly and the Office of the Governor and the State Corporation Commission on October 1st. And we're in this August-September period of really important stakeholder engagement so that we can collect all of the recommendations and data that will really help us produce an impactful plan. So Mike mentioned several of these stakeholders that are shown on your screen here as well. And I'll get into some of the other stakeholders that we've also begun to meet with. Many of you are on the call today, and we appreciate your time. So the Clean Energy Advisory Board had a meeting earlier this week and a committee meeting the week prior. We've had discussions, again, ongoing with DEQ and the SEC, et cetera. So beyond that, there are so many engaged organizations across the Commonwealth. There are too many to name, and I'm sure we missed many on this slide. But really, this is just to let you know that we are in active conversations with, state agencies, local governments, utilities, inclusive of the investor-owned utilities, the electric cooperatives, municipal association utilities, gas utilities, et cetera, as well as organizations that may be representing different specific types of electricity or energy, renewable energy associations, environmental groups like the Nature Conservancy and the Sierra Club, Natural Resources Defense Council, groups on the gas and oil and metallurgical coal side. So again, we've been very appreciative of everyone's time to date, and these will continue. So today we're really kind of opening this up and encouraging individual citizens, residents, businesses, other organizations that have not had direct contact with us, and to let you know how you can submit further public comment and continue to be engaged. So this slide just shows a couple of figures around the volume of official formalized written comments that we've received to date, and some of the stakeholder meetings that we've had as well. So at this point, we are accepting public comment through September 16th on Virginia Town Hall and on the stakeholder survey that we've set up. And we have a dedicated email address set up as well. It's energyplan@energy.virginia.gov. And I'll ask our WebEx host, Devin Keller, to put that email address in the chat for you all to save. And you can also find all of this information on our website, which is energy.virginia.gov. And there's a drop-down menu there that I will show now. It's on the main homepage under the Public tab, and it's called Virginia Energy Plan 2022. So that's a screenshot of where you would go to submit public comment. And I'm going to go back to that slide again. So again, kind of the three formalized ways that we have set up are to submit written comments in a stakeholder survey that just provides a couple of prompts in terms of topic areas that you may consider addressing. And that survey link is on our website. You can also submit public comments on Virginia Town Hall, and that link is also on our website. You can also find it if you go to townhall.virginia.gov. And then you can also email comments or reports or materials to our dedicated email address that's energyplan@energy.virginia.gov. So we really appreciate everyone joining today. The purpose of this webinar is really to inform you of the various ways to offer public engagement and comment during this critical period of the plan. So October 1st is really right around the corner if we think about it, and we want to have the best information represented in the plan. So getting your comments and information in prior to September 16th is very helpful for us to stay on track of that goal for this phase of the process. I'm now going to shift into question and answer. And the questions that we will be addressing today are primarily or only process related. So if you have recommendations or opinions or perspectives on energy policy programs or implementation of Virginia policy, we really request that you submit those in our formalized channels so that we have that information, but we're not going to be getting into that side of the discussion today. But we're focusing today on the process. So I'm going to open up my question box and just review some of the questions. So one of the questions is regarding the 3 different methods of engagement. We talked about a survey, an email address, and Virginia Town Hall in terms of a preferred method. I would say that all 3 of those are equally weighted in terms of the amount of review and attention that they will receive. And so we provide those options to give you prompts in the survey, for example, if you don't want to start from a blank slate in terms of how to submit your comments or what topics to address. So the survey has a little bit of a structure that you can follow. The email address is probably best if you have formalized, like a formalized letter or a report, something that may be in a PDF file, or otherwise you want to submit that direct email. And then Virginia Town Hall is the most transparent and immediately publicly accessible. So any comments that are submitted over on Virginia Town Hall will be immediately available and readable by anyone who goes into Town Hall. So I hope that answered your question. And we have a few questions that maybe Chelsea would be best to answer around the draft plan. And I know Al has some perspective on this as well, but the question is, will a draft of the 2022 Virginia Energy Plan be available for public comment?
Yeah, I'll tackle that first. We've never been able to do that. The time frame for producing the energy plan is too tight for that. However, I think in this case, although the code says this is the 2022 Virginia Energy Plan, we might want to consider calling it the 2022 to 2025 Energy Plan, because it will be a living document. It will be updated to reflect the changes in the energy policy landscape over time. So if you consider the October 1 publication as the first edition of the 2022 Virginia Energy Plan, you will be able to offer all the comments you'd like.
Great, and I will just remind folks, I see some questions coming in the chat. If you could please put those questions in the Q&A. If you're having a hard time finding that, you may click on the 3 dots that say more, and there should be a Q&A function there, and that will help our panelists read those questions as they come in. Okay, so there's a question about how the stakeholder input will be reflected in the plan or in maybe an appendix, a summary table, or to that effect. And I'm happy to kind of take first stab at that question, and Al or someone else can weigh in as well. I think the best answer that I have is that will be summarized in terms of, we will be describing our approach for stakeholder engagement and aggregating comments and summarizing effectively the volume of comments and on the dates in which, you know, different engagements occurred, and meeting the minimum that is set within the code, and then generally describing beyond that what engagement looked like. And you know, it may be hundreds, if not more, pages long if we try to include everything. We will definitely be reviewing the comments, and we'll be including things like quotes or other data points that are reflected in comments that make sense to pair with different sections of the plan, so that the user experience when you're reading it really makes sense. But Chelsea or Al or Will, anything to add to that?
Yeah, Carrie, I think that was a good summary. Going back to kind of the objectives and guiding principles, and, you know, the guiding principles being the filter for how we think about making decisions and making policy recommendations and such, is that all of the comments that we get and all of the input and feedback and engagement we receive through meetings and all the different ways, we will think about the percentage and weight them appropriately in the plan. So I think too, the September 16th deadline, we've been getting some questions about that, and that's really so that if anything that totally rocks our world comes in, we have 2 weeks to think through it and gather more information, and then make sure that's incorporated in the plan. There's a lot of work and a heavy burden on Virginia Energy to take all of this feedback and put it into a document that flows well and makes sense and is appropriate based on the information we're getting. And so, as in past plans, I think it's on your website, I believe. I think that's where I found it. Everyone can go look at the last plan that was published, and there's always a section at the end that summarizes all the stakeholder engagement, number of meetings, types of comments, and things like that. And that will be very similar. And then also some of the information that we received that's new and important will be incorporated into the plan, and kind of those assessment against guiding principles sections that will really drive the recommendations at the end.
Great. Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Al. Okay, so there are some, I guess, policy or topic specific questions that are coming in, and I just want to encourage folks to send those questions in through our public comment period. And you know, just a reminder that we're not getting into that specifically today, but you can submit multiple items. So if you submitted something already, and if there's another topic that you feel like has not been represented in your comments, you can certainly circle back with us.
And Carrie, I can, I'm trying to go back and forth between the Q&A and the chat, but there was a question about working groups after October to keep working on specific issues. Absolutely. There will be a recommendation section, and then there will be a future actions section. And so the issues that we didn't feel we were able to give enough attention to fully understand all spectrums of it, those are likely going to end up into the future actions. And there will likely be a working group or something of that sort that would be recommended. So I think there will be probably much more opportunity for everyone to get fully engaged in kind of that roll up your sleeves working group type setting after this first edition, as Al said, is published. And then there was a question about transportation somewhere in here. And one of the things that we're also working to do as an administration, you might have heard, the governor talks a lot about whole of government approach. And with the Petersburg announcement, hopefully you saw that come to life, is there are many plans that are required by statute annually and throughout an administration. And so we are trying to do a better job of kind of breaking down the silos and also work cross-secretariat to align and ensure that our plans are complementary and work together with other secretariat plans. Transportation is actually an excellent way to think about it and example. And Al serves on the Secretary Miller's working group related to the electrification plan. That was just, that first draft was published for public comment. And so we're working, Deputy Secretary Jen Deasy is lead on that. And so we're working with her to make sure that a lot of what she's learned, because they've already gone through a massive stakeholder engagement process, is incorporated into this energy plan and vice versa. So I'll let Al, if you want to say anything specifically about transportation.
We're coordinating, in addition to with the Virginia Department of Transportation, the Department of Environmental Quality, because of its involvement in with the money from the Dieselgate for electric vehicles and charging infrastructure. We also are looking at many other opportunities we expect over the next few months. So we are, and which reminds me that one of the most valuable aspects of stakeholder engagement is that it builds our Rolodex of interested and expert parties. And then we use that to consult and to make sure we're doing the best job we can of exploring the full spectrum of an issue or a plan. And many aspects of the Virginia Energy Plan overlap with multiple sectors, like economic development, overlaps with or complements energy development, workforce development. So there are a lot of linkages like that, and we try to, during the stakeholder engagement phase each year, identify as many stakeholders who are committed, interested, some who are expert where possible in a particular sector or goal or subset of energy policy, so that we can get the most from that resource over to implement what's in the energy plan, to revise and adjust changes, to prepare for each legislative session in Virginia. So there's a lot of value to the Commonwealth for all that you can offer as a stakeholder. Even if you're not an expert, we can at least see the level of interest across the spectrum of topics, energy topics. And we can also educate ourselves. That's a real valuable part of this process. And we've been building on it for years. So each energy plan adds to that resource, that Rolodex of people who can be very helpful. in developing and implementing energy policy. And we never stop doing that. There are some peaks. The energy plan creates a major peak in interest every 4 years. But it seems like every General Assembly session, and usually there's more than one, also creates a peak of interest in energy policy and the Virginia Energy Plan. So we expect that will continue, and we're probably now, because of the better tools we have than we had in the past, when the plan was actually published on paper, we can consider it a living document and an ongoing process.
Great. Thank you, Al. Historic wisdom is always super helpful, in my opinion, so appreciate that. There's a question here if there's interest in receiving comments on the innovation section of your guiding principles of the Virginia Energy Plan. So I would say yes, and I don't know if anyone wants to expand on innovation as a, theme or topic area.
I can just comment quickly. So the 3 objectives, again, lower cost of living and doing business, create jobs and grow the economy, improve Virginians' quality of life. And so we thought innovation was incredibly important to helping us achieve those overarching objectives. Some may or may not know within each of our secretariats, we kind of are guided by objectives and key results. And one of the objectives key results that the governor has charged us with is creating 400,000 jobs and 10,000 startups. And so, speaking more to that startup goal, the innovation ecosystem is incredibly important in helping us to ensure we have an environment where people, take a risk and chase their dream and start that business, and also, get out in front. And we had the amazing drone up announcement in front of the governor's mansion today. And if you speak to the CEO, Tom Walker, I mean, most everyone said that his dream was unachievable. And so we want to continue to ensure that Virginians keep dreaming big and they're supported when they decide to take that risk. And so there's a lot of, that's one piece of it. But then when you think about energy and the grid and the smart grid and all kinds of incredible technologies that are in incubator phase, idea phase, but then also coming out of it, we want to ensure that the policies that we have guiding us in Virginia also encourage kind of that competition and the introduction of new technologies, breakthrough technologies, and also that those companies want to come and relocate in Virginia, start in Virginia, grow in Virginia. We don't want to lose them either, and that they create jobs and help us continue to thrive. And so kind of the innovation bucket is actually really it's personally exciting, coming from a company that a lot of what we did we actually couldn't talk about because we had NDAs, and there's so much incredible technology out there that is going to help us just, again, live, work, and play in the best ways. And so, yes, please request meetings, submit comments, but that's an important guiding principle for us.
Great, thank you, Chelsea. Relating to requesting meetings, there's a question in the chat asking, I think the question is relating to having someone from the Virginia Department of Energy or the Secretary's office come and speak to an organization. And so I will say yes, depending on timing and availability and, you know, logistics, but we often receive requests for speaker invitations. And so we have a lot of really capable experts on our staff, and of course, many, many more at the governor's office and the secretary's offices. And so we do try to accommodate those requests when possible. And for the energy plan specifically, just send an email to that email address that we listed, and we will look at that option.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add, Carrie, is the speaking engagements, which we're all getting. Just want to kind of go back to the beginning, is we are truly still learning and receiving feedback and considering it and being thoughtful with what we receive and developing this plan. We're not reverse engineering it. We haven't written the last chapter and then we're creating all the data and everything to just support what we already want. So we're happy to come and speak and participate, but we can't necessarily comment or speak to what is going to physically be in this October draft, or you know what policies are going to be recommended and that kind of thing. And so I just want to kind of reiterate that, is that we are in the process of getting feedback, having meetings, digging deeper, looking at different data sources to think about an issue in a lot of different ways. And there are unintended consequences, as we all know, everything in life, right? So I think that we're happy to speak about it and come and honestly just also receive feedback from your stakeholders. So if you have a great meeting with a lot of subject matter experts, then that's a great forum for us to get a lot of great feedback all at once. But we can't necessarily tell you what's going to be in the October 1st draft of the plan. So just keep that in mind.
Great. There's a question around certain, you know, to what extent has there been involvement or engagement with the far southwest region of Virginia? And I think this is an area that the Virginia Department of Energy actually has some, you know, great, we have a great amount of staff that are out in the Big Stone Gap office. We are, you know, often doing engagement in that region of the Commonwealth already on an ongoing basis. One specific example is that we are, I guess, an advisor on the Southwest Virginia Solar Work Group. So we participate in that work group formally, and that's one that is led or hosted by Appalachian Voices. So we've had engagements with both the Southwest Solar Work Group and Appalachian Voices. And Will, I don't know if you want to expand on any other engagement in Southwest Virginia specifically. Not sure if he's still there. So we listed some.
I'm here, Carrie. It took me a second to get in. Sorry about that. Will Clear, Deputy Director. That's a great question. We have been extremely engaged in working in Southwest Virginia, looking at different ways to diversify a lot of the land that's available. A lot of people on this call probably heard myself or Daniel Kessner speak at length about the assets that we have locally and the potential energy applications that can use those assets. So we again, in this process, if there's any more feedback, like I said, we've been working for diligently almost for 4 years now, trying to you know, diversify the area. But if there's any feedback, we'd certainly welcome that. We are continually looking at different options for energy as well as industrial or commercial deployments in Southwest Virginia.
Great, thank you for that. All right, there's a lot of great questions in here. I'm hoping that we got to most of them. We are happy to follow up with anyone individually offline after this. if you want to send a question. But are there any other questions that panelists saw that you'd like to answer, or closing remarks that you would like to share? All right. Well, with that, I want to thank, first of all, our panelists, Al Christopher, Chelsea Jenkins, Michael Skiffington, Will Clear. Thanks for answering some great questions. I'm Carrie Hearn, as I mentioned, and we really appreciate everyone's time today coming and joining us live. And this slide deck and the recording from the WebEx will be posted on our website. And we look forward to receiving your public comments, and we wish you a healthy and enjoyable day. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.